Welcome to the Fit Affiliate Podcast, hosted by Tony Ronke and Lisa Hetherington, where we talk about behaviours and behaviour-based conversations as they apply to affiliate owners and coaches. And welcome back to another episode of the Fit Affiliate Podcast, joined as always by Tony. But today we are super excited to have the one and only Mr. Danny Soul joining us. How are you, gentlemen?
Fantastic.
I'm great. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you guys asking me. Tony, how are you?
I'm fantastic now that we're actually on this podcast, although I just lost the screen. So I was like, where'd everybody go? I thought I just closed the call out. So technology is not my friend, but life is good because I get Danny on a podcast, which has really kind of been one of the goals. I feel like every time you guys come, when somebody comes on here, I'm like, one of the people that was this whole podcast was designed around is this person. You're definitely one of those people. We'll talk about why that is on this episode, but keeping with the trend, Danny has no idea what we're talking about today. So we just basically steamrolled him on this one, just like we did everybody else. So yeah, it'll be a fun one.
But, yeah, we never give anyone any warning about what we're going to talk about. And I never, ever tell Tony what the episode's about until we've hit basically record. So it keeps life interesting.
Cool. It's more fun that way. It's super fun. Obviously, I want to get Danny on here. Sean will probably end up on here at some point, but I feel like everybody talks about Sean, but Danny's the cool one. So, and yes, I put that on recording. So please make sure Sean hears that.
Yeah, he will for sure.
He's going to be like, dude, what the hell? What's up with that? But anyway, so I'm glad you're on here. So let's talk about soul. You guys have done a lot of shit in the last couple of years. You don't really, I don't know if you've listened to any of the podcast episodes. So I know you sent me a message. You were like, hey, this is like a business podcast. Like, what are we going to talk about? But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. Mainly your business, particularly in soul and how it's come to be. But so the thing that we usually bring people on here to talk about is not like how great their affiliate is or their business is. We got a lot of different contrarian humans on here. So there's like two types of people: professional coaches, usually like, people like Barber, EC, etc. And then there's like identifiably or recognizable affiliate owners as well. And then kind of like for us, we just like the point of the podcast is to discuss behavior, right? And so like really like the mannerisms behind and the mechanisms behind why people are the way they are, particularly how their affiliates run. So the reason why yours is so fun for me is that soul has always been since the beginning semi-fascinating to me because like as you just mentioned, it don't run like a normal affiliate in every single unconceivable way, and it's still notoriously successful. And that's the thing that I want to talk about today, because you've done and curated, all of you guys have really. I know nobody's uniquely responsible for it, but you guys have done something really, really cool there. But where you're cool, and yes, you are cool. I'm just blowing smoke up your ass at this point. But where you're cool though is that you and Sean both really kind of both followed the professional coach journey as well as the affiliate owner journey. And so I think that there's two conversations to have there. So I'm pumped to have this conversation. But let's get into the backstory. You've got a crazy backstory, and you can give as much of the information as you want to, or as little of the information. But I think that it would be a disservice to anybody to not know the backstory, because the obsession that is Danny that I know is very much the person that I know as Danny. So I guess give us a little bit of the backstory behind you and soul, how that all came to be.
Wow. The backstory about soul. So my backstory is not really the same as soul's backstory.
Right.
By the time, we got to the point that we were ready to open soul, my life had changed tremendously. And Tony knows this, Lisa, so and anybody listening knows, like, I'm an open book 100% of the time. Like the same way that I talk to you guys is the same way that I talk to my clients, athletes, my kid, my mom and dad. Like, I talk the same shit with anybody the same way all of the time, maybe sometimes to a fault, So you guys can quite literally ask me any question about like my previous life, my current life, and I'm very transparent. But anything I say, if you want to lean into it more, we can talk about it. But like the short end of my personal story, I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. I was not an athlete growing up, not a jock, not into coaching or business in any way, shape, or form. My passions were music, being a vandal, delinquent. That was all my formative life was really revolved around like I said, going to punk rock, hardcore shows, getting into fights, being a street kid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sorry?
Just fucking shit up. It's all right.
Pretty much, man. In every way, shape, or form. Came from a great family, very supportive, but that's the route that I chose to take back then. And that landed me in multiple rehab centers, boys' homes, detoxes, jails, institutions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I had been through more than I can count. And I even cared to remember, to be honest. Some were, ranged from like overnight only all the way into being locked up in places for 90 days and more. So, that was that story. And then in 2009, I made a decision. I was kind of forced into making a decision that changed my life. And very soon thereafter, fitness became a big part of my life as well. Sorry, I said 2009, 2006. Yeah. 2009 is when we opened the gym. In 2006 is when I got clean and everything changed for me. Fitness became a huge part of my life. So after leaving my last treatment center, my therapist told me that, in treatment, fitness had become like a relevant part of my recovery. And he advocated that I signed up at a gym. So I ended up in the first CrossFit gym that was in my immediate area, in Miami. And I was this gentleman's quite literally first client at his gym. It was like the grand opening at this gym. And my ex-wife and I were the first people there. We were his first clients. And very quickly, for whatever reason, that gym had a lot of problems. And very quickly, there were no coaches showing up to coach. And the owner was not showing up to coach. And he had a lot of personal issues as well. And I found myself in this coaching role out of necessity. I mean, I'm talking quite literally picking up my phone and saying, hey, dude, I signed up to pay here. I'm here for your 9 a.m. class and there's no one here and there's 10 people outside. And he'd be like, oh shit, that's right. We have a class today. Do me a favor, take them outside, run them around the parking lot twice, have them do push-ups and air squats, and I'll be there in 30 minutes. And that's how quite literally, believe it or not, how my coaching journey began, is just out of pure necessity. I ended up in this place and it needed help and support. It had no one to open and close and coach, et cetera, et cetera. And my ex-wife and I became the two people to do everything for this place. And, I was really not being mentored at the time. Mm-hmm. I kind of fell into this affiliate, like I told you guys. And I took a lot of that street punk rock ethos that was inside of me that I had developed as a youth, and I applied it to my absolute lack of knowledge for coaching and affiliate management, I guess. But I had no one to teach me. This is before the boom of CrossFit on YouTube. Yeah. The only thing that had existed was the CrossFit Journal and CrossFit.com. I was very heavily involved in the message boards on CrossFit.com and posting my times daily and starting trouble on the message boards and all that.
Trolling everybody.
Yeah. And I basically took it upon myself to find the best coaches that I could, and that led me to Coach B, Coach Bergner. That led me to Louis Simmons. That led me to a lot of the, Jeff Tucker. That led me to a lot of these people in our space that are subject matter experts. And I gave everything I had to these folks. Yeah. I'm talking about there's some of these people where I went out for several weeks at a time to learn about their discipline and have them coach me, fully immerse myself in these spaces personally, so I can learn how to teach these people at this place that kind of fell in my lap. It's kind of how the ball got rolling for me at that affiliate. And then, again, long story short, there were some issues at this place. I was putting a lot of work into something that was not mine. And it was not like financially feasible for me anymore. So I decided to do my own thing and open my own spot. And that's in August of 2009 when we opened CrossFit Soul.
Oh, it was 2009. I couldn't remember if it was pre-2010 or not. I thought it was after that, but that's crazy. You guys are a you're an OG affiliate.
So we opened in 2009 and we didn't affiliate until the beginning of 2010.
Potato. I think all of us have that exact same story, right? We were just like, I'm going to do some stuff with my friends. And then you get a phone call from Kathy Glassman being like, what are you doing? Like,
exactly.
Yeah. I was like, what do you mean, Dad? She's like, you're doing CrossFit. I know it. I'm like, I mean, I'm not doing it, but what? She's like, you need to affiliate. And I was like, okay. I didn't even follow the same affiliation process. So I get it. I know what it's like.
Yeah. So that's, it kind of happened by necessity. Like at that point, I had a group of 20, 30 people that were like, I don't know why. Like I really knew nothing. They were like, I like speak well. They were listening to me. I guess they were willing to pick up what I was putting down and they were willing to follow me. And like, again, there was nobody teaching me. So I took it upon myself to fucking figure it out the same way where like, I used to go to a record store and dig through records or dig through CDs and like look for the lyrics and where are these bands playing and oh, look at this guy wearing a Misfits shirt on the cover of this. Let's look for the Misfits. Oh, look at Glenn Danzig talking about Black Flag. Oh, Henry Rollins has a Misfits. That like putting all of those pieces in the punk rock world together because, I sound like an old head, but YouTube didn't exist. Like I couldn't Google like, oh, what are, bands that sound like Slayer, so it was all my own hard work. And that's like really the spirit that we started CrossFit Soul with. And we have continued to have that energy quite literally until today. And we have always had that energy.
Yeah. And that's, I would for sure definitely agree that you have energy is a good word for it, for what you guys have. I think I met you, I don't know what year it was. I think I officially met Sean around like 2011, 2012 maybe. And then obviously I met you through Sean. And very quickly we obviously hit it off as good friends. But I think a lot of it has to do with there's those similar backstories, those similar obsessive personality things but there's we've talked about this with all the other people who've been on here too, is the old days of the board. And like, there's just something, and I'm nostalgic about it. And there's nothing wrong with, CrossFit in this era, but there's definitely something about the type of people who existed on those forums back in the day. And like, I bump into some of them, not as much as I'd like to anymore, but like quite a few of them. And there's still such an interesting bond and similarity and character type between all of us. It's funny that some of them suck, but we'll leave those people out of this conversation. But most of them are pretty rad.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying this the other day, and I say this often, like, I'm very grateful to have come into this space when I did, because if I didn't, and I was walking into an affiliate today, I would most definitely, I probably would not stay, to be honest, even into like my affiliate. Like I'm in a retail plaza now with air conditioning.
You're fancy now. You got two of them.
Yeah, you see, I got a cold plunge in one. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fancy pants now, dude.
Yeah.
But like back then, CrossFit was like the punk rock of fitness.
Yeah.
And like there's a reason why I never was a jock and I never played sports as a kid, because like we tried to fight those guys. Yeah. Like those guys beat me up my whole life. I didn't want to be a football player. I didn't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
That attitude kept me out of that space. And when I found CrossFit, I was like, wow, like it's in a warehouse. It's the same place we play shows.
It's dirty in here. Yeah.
Yeah. It would like really resonated to me. And it made a lot of sense for me personally. But man, if I came into it now and saw what was happening, I'm not trying to hate on it, but just like knowing where I was in that time, I probably wouldn't have stayed around.
It's funny you bring that up, because I was just talking about this. I don't remember who I was talking about it with, and it sounds insensitive, but I was like, there's a lot of shitty people that have gravitated towards this thing now, and there's still, I think, more good people than bad people, but there's definitely, kind of like to your point, the people who you're like, you hated, you picked on, you fought, or they beat you up, like those people kind of got chewed up and spit out back in the day. And like now we've kind of evolved into this weird thing where I'm like, there's definitely a line in the sand almost, right? Where it's like you're on one side or you're on the other. And I think that the cool affiliates are cool. That's what I want to talk about with this one. And the other ones, I'm just like, do you guys even get it? Like you don't even get it, right? And that part sucks. But I would say the reason why I wanted you on here, obviously, well, you're a good friend of mine, but the main reason I want is there's few affiliates that are as identifiably unapologetically authentic as Soul is. And I mean that in every literal conceivable sense, where it's like, to your point, how you start off podcasts, like you're just raw, you're an open book. And that very much is everybody that's in there. Like, from your brother to Sean, like everybody's just, it's very real. And I think that part's never lost on them. But the reason why I think that that's important is that for us with Fit Affiliate, the thing that we set out to do really with this original idea was like, we wanted to protect the affiliate model. But what we mean by that is that sort of raw, authentic, individual version of the affiliate model, right? Where it's like, we believe the biggest threat facing the affiliate landscape today is standardization, right? Like, because as soon as they all start to become the same, not only does that weaken the entire, ecosystem as well as, everything else about it, but like, you're just going to change the entire trajectory of this whole thing. And so in a lot of ways, keeping with that conversation, you and Soul are kind of like one of the scions of that brand, where you're like, you become this demonstratable version of like, no, you can open an affiliate and do it however the fuck you want and never have to say sorry about it. And it will still be massively successful. But you got a lot of affiliate owners today now who are just like, I don't know what I'm doing, to your point, right? They've come in later in the game and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. They're undercapitalized. You got to have hundreds of thousands of dollars now. And they're like, somebody give me the answers to the test, right? And the next thing you know, you all got the same colors, the same logos, the same marketing, the same clients, which is part of the whole ass problem, right? And then like the whole thing falls apart. So, I mean, you kind of touched on the backside of it, but what do you think is the reason why you were able to stick to that when so many other people fail at it, being just maintaining that authenticity?
Well, let me tell you, some of it is due to like our own ignorance. Like, I don't know what else to do.
Right.
I got nothing else to do, man. Like, I'm not well educated formally. I don't know what else to do. I if I was not teaching people how to snatch, clean and jerk, climb rope, walk on their hands, and do burpees, if I was not in this office designing merch and working with my team and trying to inspire them and push them, I don't like. I'll hang out with my kid. Like, that's literally the only things that I do.
Who's a whole ass human now?
Yeah, he's gonna be he's competing at nationals this summer.
That's insane.
Yeah, remember when that guy was born and now he's nationally, recognized.
Whole ass human.
Yeah, weightlifter. But it's our obsession. It's our dying obsession. It is all we all do.
Yeah.
And if this doesn't work, I'm gonna have to reinvent my life. Like, so it's more of an obsession for us. I find a lot of affiliate owners, and I'm not hating on anybody. I will hate on people, but I'm not right now. People have other jobs. They have side jobs. They do CrossFit as a hobby. If you do CrossFit as a hobby, you're going to get hobby results. If you're treating your affiliate as a side gig and you're no offense, but a cop or a firefighter or this or that, and you have your hands in a bunch of other pots, I think you're going to yield those results. This is not, in my opinion, to be successful and to have a 13, 14-year affiliate, you can't do it as a side job. And you also can't hire a bunch of children who do it as a side job either. We're a bunch of all-in motherfuckers. And, that's
it's the quote of the year.
Yeah. And
there's
the soundbite that's going up on this podcast, by the
way. and those are the results that we get, you were making a point, and every sale that I make in this gym, just about every sale that I make into this gym, I tell people all the time, like, there's a few CrossFit affiliates in the area. You should probably visit them all and find the gym that you love. And it's going to save you a lot of time, money, and stress, because we're not all different, but I'm different. And there's a few, there's, you know, a couple other big dogs in the area that are very different. And just because we share that name, CrossFit, or we, you know, we train that discipline of CrossFit, that's the only similarity that we have.
Yeah.
There's like quite literally gyms down the street. You can't play, you know, rap music that has curse words in it. They, you know, they're very strict about these certain things. That's fine. But if you love that,
you're not going to like it here.
Versus on the wall before you do your open workout, you're not going to like my gym. And if you love my gym, you're not going to like that over there either. And guess what? That's how it should be. There's no hate involved in that. There's no, you know, it's not demeaning. It's just, that's how it should be. We're all free to operate however we want. I think a lot of people, owners, come into our space with the mindset that this should be some kind of a franchise. Now, you know, people come in with their hands open to HQ and they're like, tell me, what do I do? What are my affiliate toolkit marketing strategies for 2023? Like,
where's my government cheese? Yeah, that's
what? Like, bro, I pay $2,000 a year to use the name CrossFit, and guess what? CrossFit, go away. That's, I don't need, like, I'm here to do my own thing. I'll like knock on the door when I need it, or communicate when I need it. But like the affiliation, the you know, Glassman's original vision behind the affiliation is very like libertarian-esque.
Yeah,
it's very much like, leave me alone to figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, you got to bounce. Your gym has to close, you know?
And I think, well, first of all, that's a humble brag in there, a $2K affiliate fee. Well placed. Way to drop that one in there.
Just very subtle and slid in.
In case you guys were wondering how long I've been around for, I pay 2/3 of your affiliate fee. Fuck you, that's why.
I don't know what it is now.
I think it's $3,000. So I actually don't know. I
expect
that won't be for very long. We get those 500 affiliate fees. Those are ones you're like, wow.
Ooh, those are nice.
You like Willy Wonka? What's up with that? No, and well, so there's a whole lot to unpack in that conversation because you kind of nailed it, right? And the big thing for us, like, I think it gets lost on a lot of people. For one, there's a million people who are out there trying to help affiliate owners, right? Like, there's, you know, you guys get DM'd every single day with lead gen strategies and operation strategies and this and that. All those things. And that's why, you know, we built this whole thing, because fuck you. That's why really was the whole joke, right? It was like, choose the wrench. And, you know, we really built it to be the anti-guru because we were just so sick of the talking heads for that reason, right? Because like even before, you know, the affiliate playbook and the toolkit and all these things, which, you know, I think are well-intentioned, because listen, some of these people need some help, right? Like, and I get it. Right.
I'm going to talk shit and troll no matter what. You know what I mean? So
they're not our clients, right? Like, we screen every single person for the same reason you guys do, because we're like, listen, you either get it or you don't, and we're going to figure this out on the first call. And if we get it, I'll give you the invite to the second step. But if not, I'm going to be like, listen, there's a million places you could just go right into your toolkit and just download the entire playbook and just start there, right? Like, just don't come up for air until that's done. Like, if you don't know what you're doing. But the thing that we always start with, and I wouldn't say always, but like, it definitely backpedals people, is we start with essentially, what is their why? What is their cause, right? Like, the one thing we ask every single client when they get started is essentially, why does your affiliate need to exist, right? And none of them can answer. Not none of them, but like, they give you some version of a canned CrossFit, you know, constantly very functional movement type of answer, right? And I'm like, no. Because like, there's a million of those. Like, why yours, right? And so Soul, for sure, it's embodied in that statement, right? Like, you guys, what else would you do? And that's not, you know, meant to be like a knock against you, but like, you get it, right? Like, it's like, my back's against the wall and I'm going to fight like my back's against the wall. And that includes whatever I need to do that. And that piece is missing from so many people because they just don't understand that why. Like, I think it's just missing from them. And so one of the things we say a lot around here is that the absence of why, what's become wise, right? You see this, like, you know, at a micro level every year in the open. People have no idea why they're exercising anymore. So next thing you know, they're like, you know, I think I'm going to try to compete. I'm like, That's not even remotely incongruent with anything you want to do in life. And now you're going to tell me like you're saddling up to try to make it in the open, like the absence of whys. The next thing you know, you're like, well, what's everybody else doing? I guess 'tis the season. Let me check on your mimetic goals here. And I'm gonna be like, I'm going to do that. And that's the problem with the affiliates in general, I think, is that like they're all in pain, not all, but like a lot of them are in pain. They have no idea what they're doing. So they look around and they're like, what the hell is Soul doing? That's really working. And then they try to emulate it. And then there's no way you're going to replicate what's happening in Soul, right? Like, and to your point, you're probably like, you wouldn't even want to, because you wouldn't even want to deal with my monkeys. Like, they're crazy. I've seen them. They are crazy in the most beautiful way ever.
Yeah.
No, but I think that you get it. And I'm not really sure, maybe it's just because of your backstory and you are so unapologetic and just raw that you just kind of got it. But it might also just be because of the duration, right? Like, we've been around for so long, right? Yeah. It was easier to do this, 12, 15 years ago when you're just like, no, I mean, like, I remember for years, there was not even a sign on my building. I was like, if you can find us, you belong here. Like, that was literally my arrogance and so much at the beginning. But then like, you realize you're like, oh wait, this is actually business. Like, we're going to have to do business type things. Right. But like, that was, there was an era where that came about, and now we're in this weird era where it's like, to your point, where like, somebody please help. And now there's no shortage of people offering to help. And all that help is just coming with an absence of identity.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, I've had and look, don't get me wrong. Over the years, I've tried some, I won't talk about who or what or where, but I've tried some, CrossFit business, educational seminars and immersive experiences and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, most of the stuff I got out of that was what I never wanted to do. Right. I quite literally had someone tell me once that I need to stop coaching and I need to spend more of my time in the office, or my affiliate's going to close. And I was like, that fucking, to me personally, I opened it. You're asking me, or you're asking about whys. I like to coach. Mm-hmm. If I can't coach and I can't spend time on the floor, I don't want to be here. Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't even have to be scheduled, but I spend my time, and maybe it's my laptop on a standing desk on the floor, whatever. But like, I like to spend my time with my people on the floor. Mm-hmm. And if that gets taken from me, I don't want to be here. Like, sure. I understand the concept of being able to delegate responsibilities. I know I can't do everything, and I don't. I have an incredible team. I don't even come close to pretending I do everything. Someone asked me for the Wi-Fi code in the Fort Lauderdale gym on Monday. I didn't even know it. Like, I don't know everything. I definitely don't do everything. Yeah. But like, I'm very passionate about the reason why I came into this, and I still want to continue doing it. Yeah. So yeah, I hear you on that there's a whole lot of information out there and not a whole lot of identity. Why I wanted to do this is very simple. Like, I wanted to make like a clubhouse. Like, I wanted to have a place where people spent. I got another funny story for in a second, but like, where people spend all day, like, and people feel comfortable, and that I feel comfortable, and played the music that I liked, and the gym that had a look and feel that's consistent with me, and that I could feel comfortable being here 12 hours a day, because I am, still 13 years later, same routine, so I needed a place that like felt like home to me and attracted more people like me, or us, and that's what we've done. In those days, I remember somebody else had told me, like, you've got these competitors and these athletes and these clients spending 4 or 5 hours a day in your gym. That's a mistake. You want them in your gym for 45 minutes, get them in and get them out. Next class, get them in and get them out, get them in and get them out. And that's not what I want. Like, I'm sorry, CrossFit biz guys, like, that's not what I want to do. I want the complete opposite. And we've done it, and we've figured out a way to be successful and still be here through that,
That's quite the water jug you got there, though. No wonder you're so cool now. You carry that big fucking kettlebell around all day.
Half gallon, dude.
I got to be honest. You do look great now, though. You're sexy as hell.
Look at this.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're going to get into some talking shit because I can already feel it coming, but it is the elegance that was the accident of the affiliate model, right? Like, and I think that everybody thinks that Greg had this grand plan, that he schemed it up and wrote it all out and strategized it. But like, if you know Greg well enough to know, it's that despite being incredibly intelligent, most of the shit just was like, I don't know, it's just going to kind of happen, right? Like we all just organically grew out of a gym and research drive in Santa Cruz, not because like he had this plan for like world domination. But the thing that so many people I don't think understand is that they're a part, if they're not a part of their own why, they become a part of CrossFit's why, right? Like, and back in the day, that was easy because like that just cause was in every single thing that came out, everything that Greg talked about, every fight he picked, right? Like, because dude would fight literally anybody. It was like just an angry leprechaun, right? And so like it didn't matter who it was, and it was easy to get behind it. And I'm very grateful to that, because had I not had something like that to get behind, I wouldn't have stuck with this thing. Like, because I tell everybody all the time, like, I don't really like exercising. I do it because I understand the value of it, but like I had to belong to something first to keep me here. And here I am, 17 years later.
Yes.
And had I not had that, I wouldn't have been able to come up with such a compelling version of my own why. And that part is scary to me because it's missing now, right? Like, not so much because Greg's gone or otherwise, but like we've past that tipping point, right? We've got to the point where we're mass adoption, which is great. I'm glad that there's more. We need even more people doing it for sure if we're going to realize this intangible goal of like changing the world. And I get it, but it's hard because the more people that come into this, it seems to get louder and louder, and the louder it gets, the less people start to remember and understand like why this shit all matters. And that was one of the things that, like, when we built this thing, we were like, the only thing we really care about is getting people back to why, right? Like, because if they don't remember, whether you're a client in a gym or you own the gym, if you don't remember why you put down that credit card and bought all that Matte Black goodness and like did it, like, you're going to have a real hard time and you're going to get real distracted, right? And you're going to get that advice and you're going to be like, okay, if that's what I got to do, I'll sell my soul. Like, I'll go home and leave my wife. I'll give up my children, right? Like, and that part just sucks. And that's the issue that we have to deal with so many of these other gurus. And that's one of the other reasons I was like, I'm gonna bring Danny on here, because it'll make it really easy to just talk shit, because that's exactly what happens every time I'm around him.
Yep. I remember, dude, in 2010, South Beach Phil Fest, affiliate gathering, as I guess it had been called in later years, but they used to do, it was called Phil Fest. They had Jeremy Teal, Monique Ames from Evolution, Zach Evanesh from New Jersey Strength, whatever, like a bunch of OGs. And I remember Greg stood up, and he said, the best business plan is to not have a business plan.
Yeah.
Now, I have a business plan. We have goals behind everything that we do. We're very well organized. Like, I don't want to give the illusion that like we just sit here and talk shit and make stuff up. We are incredibly organized. We have SOPs for everything that we do. We are very well dialed. We have marketing strategies, et cetera, et cetera. And I did not take that literally at the time. However, to hear like the founder and the CEO of this new movement, you just said you felt like you had to belong to something. And I had the same feeling and still do. To hear him say that, like, resonated with me a lot. And like, I know enough that I can sift through the bullshit and figure out what he's trying to say.
Exactly.
But I remember when he said that, everyone in the room like could not believe it.
There was so many of those Gregisms, right? Like way back in the day, like, get rid of your computer program, go back to your pen and paper until you can't keep track of it. And everybody was like, has he lost his mind? But I think there was so much magic in those rants. And if you could read between them, and it was obvious to read between them, like, he was so adamant that routine was the enemy. Anything that would intervene or impede scientific process, your ability to come up with a hypothesis and test that hypothesis, was the enemy. And, in a plan, having a well-formed plan, is all well and good. But if you're not willing to test and execute and experiment against that plan, and I get where he was, but very few people, I think, in that room, there's other versions when he said the same thing. People are just like, he's lost his mind. I'm like, He didn't lose his mind. He's actually sort of like a weird, just rambling genius. If you just listen to him, you can decipher it with the little code. You'll understand what Greg's talking about.
I remember once he famously, he was being asked about like what equipment should a new affiliate buy if I'm starting a gym, and he said the most important thing you can do is clean your fucking bathroom.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "What? I'm like, how many Concept 2 rowers should I buy? Do I need dumbbells or kettlebells? Do I go against Master or Rogue?" And he's like, "Clean your bathroom. Have the cleanest bathroom in the city." And like that speaks volumes. No, he's not talking about having a nice shiny shitter. That's not what he means. He's talking about like being able to serve your clients well. It's not about the toys. It's not about the logo. It's not about, the ceilings in your warehouse.
Right.
About being able to serve your people well. And that's like indicative of that, like cleaning your bathroom, having their space clean,
He's they're talking about words as weapons and words having weight, right? Like there's just now, and I think everybody can recite the whole, clean your bathrooms thing, right? And you walk into an affiliate and this thing can be a complete dumpster fire. And most of them, for the most part, have clean bathrooms. I'm like, well done. I mean, at least you got them to clean their fucking bathrooms. They can't do anything else. They can clean their books or anything else, but at least the bathroom's clean. And they'll always tell you, right? Like, his seminars, I would go to seminars. They would always proudly tell me how clean their bathroom was. I'm like, Greg will be very happy. I'm not here to test the bathroom quality. In fact, you probably need more of them because most affiliates do. But yeah, I mean, and so when we dig those things out and we try to get people back to those whys, it's very telling, I think, is people who want to help as many people as possible. The one thing that we were very adamant about was we didn't want to build a system, right? Because there was no point in us, coming. It was bold of me to assume that I could tell you how to emulate or replicate what Danny's doing in Miami, right? In Branson, fucking Missouri, or something like that. Branson always becomes the example. Sorry, Nathan. But the biggest problem with that wasn't so much that it was about, somebody doing something better, so you should do it that way. It was just that we've always had the same belief in that is that advice is sort of the enemy, right? Because the problem with advice is it's never really malicious. It's just that giving people advice blindly, it assumes that the receiver of said advice is incapable of solving their own problems. And that would probably be the case in a lot of situations, but I don't think it's the case with affiliate owners because that's the way the affiliate is designed, right? Like you are supposed to be able to and absolutely can solve your own problems because there's no right answer. And this is where I think it gets so fucked with so many of these people is that they're looking for the answers to the test. They want the right answer. They want the right version of their affiliate because they're not sure what their version of the affiliate looks like, right? And so they go looking for this advice and they take the advice and, really all they end up doing is ending up with an answer that allows them to abdicate responsibility, right? Like they told me to do this, and this, and I did that and it still didn't work. They took my money. They took advantage of me. I'm like, well, here's the problem. If everybody's the asshole, you're the asshole. And that was the thing that we went after with the affiliate was that like, it's not about advice. It's not about answers. It's about why, right? So tell me where you want to get to and then show me what you're doing. And I'm going to tell you where you're going to come up short. And that was the only answer with it. And the whole reason it was designed that way is this conversation. It was just like to get them back to the basics that like, dude, you can do this however you want. And one of the best examples of that is Soul, period. Right? Because it's anybody that walked into Soul, like two things would happen. Immediately you'd be like, what the fuck? Would be your first reaction. And then you'd be followed up with another what the fuck of like, it runs so well. Like your first glance would be like, this is crazy town here. And then you'd step back and you would assess it and be like, wow, it really, really works. And it is literally the beauty of the affiliate model. Like, in Miami, and I think that part is just so cool. And to your point, you're like, I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I knew I was unwavering on the things that were important to me. Everything else figured itself out. And that's all that matters. And that's where they get lost every time.
Yeah, I agree with that fully, man. I think, Greg used to, we're talking so much about Greg's, a lot of old head talk, but like I've seen him tell people, I'm sorry?
We're just old heads. That's okay.
I know.
How many people right now they're going to Google what's old head?
If you're under 30, you probably know what that means.
That's not meme culture. They're gonna be like, no, there's like no cap. Is that like no? I don't even know what those things are anymore. So
Well, have a 10-year-old and you'll figure it out really fucking quick.
yeah, no, we're good. Yeah.
But I've heard him tell people, like, if you can't figure it out, your gym should close.
Yeah.
Like, that's very intense to hear from like the CEO and the previous CEO, the founder of, the brand that you've chosen to affiliate yourself with. He used to have, and they still have, like no restrictions about where affiliates open up. Open up a gym right across the street. And that historically drove people bananas.
Yeah.
And it still does, but with good reason. I mean, he always said, like, the good ones are going to survive. And here we are, man. I mean, COVID was more proof of that than ever. Like, the ones who were adaptable, that didn't feel like, I mean, to be honest with you, HQ at that time, not that I needed or wanted it, they didn't really offer a whole lot of support,
right.
But like, my success is not contingent upon what HQ does. I know I'm trolling about like the affiliate toolkit and stuff like that. That stuff's great. I'm super happy to see them do stuff like that now. But like, it's the original concept is like, we're on our own to figure this stuff out, and I can't have a guy in San Diego telling me how to serve my Cuban American population in Miami who a quarter don't even speak English. Like,
yeah.
I need to figure that out for myself. And yeah, like, the ones who can figure it out should be the ones that thrive.
Yeah, I think, probably the most incendiary thing that gets recited all the time was always the cream will rise to the top conversation, right? Like, you would talk about something that pissed everybody off every single time because everybody wanted someone to come help, right? Like, or they wanted to be someone else's fault. And like, it's a pretty clear litmus test of the type of person you are. If like the notion of cream will rise to the top infuriates you, then like you're probably going to get spit out alive here, because like the very nature of being a coach and trying to become a coach is essentially being obsessed with learning and never stopping, right? And so like you're naturally going to rise to the top because you can't really fail if you just keep learning. Like, it's impossible. But there's a lot of people who want there to be a comfort level, a plateau where I get to just stop. And so that statement used to just, it still pisses everybody off. But now we're in this place now where everybody's like, well, if we just turned it into like a franchise model and we were all the same, I'm like, first of all, if we turn, I've ranted about this in a bunch of other podcasts, but like, you pay $3,000 a year, right? Like, you would be paying $250,000 up front. You'd have to have, an 800 credit score, $500,000 in net worth, a bond on the back end. Like, 99% of the affiliates would not exist because they don't have the startup. They didn't have the ability, right? Like, and now look around and sure, you're probably not perfect, but that's the issue. And that's the thing that I wanted people to get out of this podcast is that like, there is no right answer. There is no perfect. The perfect is just the process. Just keep pushing. And you guys have done a really good job of that. Truly. Like, I get it. Like, I've been around for enough of the phone calls and the what the fuck moments where you're just like, I have no idea what's going on, and I think that people just need to understand that if you can step back and look at there's a diminishing number of great affiliates that are pillars of this, like you guys now, unfortunately. But like, if you can step back and look for like the souls, in the South Brooklyns and those gyms, and be like, it does work, right? Because there's power in that individuality. And I think everybody's looking for uniformity for obvious reasons, right? And we saw this throughout the pandemic with various different other political things. But the beauty of a why and the beauty of a compelling why has nothing to do with more opportunities. It's the amount of things that's allowed you guys to avoid. Like you said it in the very beginning, being so unapologetically and authentically yourself has for sure obviously frustrated a lot of people, but the amount of things that allows you to avoid, because who's your audience, who's your people, right? Like, and then you built an entire culture that will literally defend and defense that culture. And I think that part is like, and that is uniquely what was OG CrossFit, right? Like that was what pulled us all into those back, corner warehouse gyms, because it was a place for people like us to do the thing like that, where those other type of people weren't really around. Right. And so then affiliates started popping up, and originally I think they were all the same way. But now, we've gotten to this point where we're at the risk of standardization, and that's the biggest risk facing the affiliate, I think, for sure. But if more people can see how powerful it is to be identifiably unique and individual, it should be just compelling, right? Like look at a CrossFit Soul and be like, wow, I can literally do this any way I want to, and it'll be rad. Like I can put prayers on the wall, or I could I could
put pictograms on the wall.
Yeah, I could do whatever I want, and you're gonna find your people, and there's power in that. And I think that's one of the reasons I was like, I'm bringing Danny on the podcast for that exact reason, because you guys have gotten it, and we always talk about it, but we need to bring more people on. But I was like, it's time for Danny to come on the podcast for that exact reason.
I appreciate that.
I think too, when we talk about the you can be unique and still be very successful. We talk about that, like we always talk about scarcity and abundance mindset. There's so much scarcity that people are like, oh, I've got to serve everybody at my affiliate. Whereas Danny, you're showing that, hey, I want you to go and look at everybody else, because, you might not, we might not be the right fit for you. I want you to make sure that you're getting the best experience. Whereas most affiliates are like, no, you need to stay here. Like, you've walked through my door, you're my person now, and I'm going to take you regardless whether you're going to be the biggest pain in my ass or not, and totally not be a fit. But I'm going to fight tooth and nail to keep you, because I've got that scarcity mindset that I need everyone that comes through the door, without realizing if you're just true to yourself, there's enough for everybody, because there's something that suits everybody.
Yeah,
if we're all unique.
We have a saying in this gym. I'm sure you guys say it too, and you've heard it on this podcast, but high tide raises all ships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the mentality where you can't, we sell a competitive program design, for example, Team Soul Training. You can come in here and follow Invictus. You can come in here and follow whatever you want. And we're still going to coach you through it. But I don't have that famine mentality. High tide raises all ships. You can come in here and follow it, and you're going to isolate yourself. You're going to be in the corner training alone, because we've got 40 kids following a completely different design who are willing to listen and work with coaches on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have those rules, and we really have never had them. I think it's also, to both of your guys' point, like, I think it's very important that coaches and owners stay in that role. And what I mean is, in our space, we very commonly hear, I was a victim of that. I mean, I played a role in that story, but the story of the head coach of the gym leaving and going to open his own gym, or the most motivational, long-running member at a gym leaving and going to open their own gym and taking all the clients. We've never experienced that, because we and my team always stay in the leadership role. In the world where all of the information, how do you learn a muscle up? Let's look at it on YouTube. You can see videos from Tony in 2012 teaching a CrossFit gymnastics seminar, literally teaching the same shit I am going to teach you on the gym floor. Like, Tony's one of the guys who framed how I teach gymnastics. Tony, Jeff, Sean, and Chuck, like, had a huge influence on, like, how I teach competitive CrossFit gymnastics. You can learn all of that without being in my gym. However, I need to stay in the driver's seat. Otherwise, it's very easy for my guys to learn all of the education on online courses, et cetera, and yes, leave and go open their own gym. It's very possible. And, that's always, I always tell my coaches, like, that's the challenge that you have. You need to stay in a leadership coaching role. It's very easy in our space for the clients to supersede their knowledge, to supersede the instructor tomorrow. There's so much resources for information that are out there, and that's a huge thing that has helped us be successful. Is, like, we really, like, I tell my guys, you're not out there to facilitate exercise, bro. You're not just putting the fucking Spotify on Fran 21:59 and put the clock on. You need to lead. You need to give them something they're not going to get anywhere else, For sure. So,
I think sort of like the root of that is insecurity begets insecurity, right? Like, so many of the gyms operate from a position of insecurity all of their decisions become insecurity bases. And then like it just creates less security in all areas. And so you see them, they spawn all these gyms, not because of any other reason, but what's the reason to stay, right? Like, what are
Yeah.
you belonging to? Right. And so, and you probably really ultimately had a very compelling, justifiable reason, but your lack of confidence in being unapologetically yourself, because for whatever reason, didn't allow you to communicate that culture effectively, right? And people would have belonged to that. And what you see all the time with affiliates is that when owners are incapable of doing that, like you guys have done so well at Soul, they become a part of CrossFit's why, like we talked about, right? So like they're not actually members of your gym. They just pay you to do this at your gym. And so that loyalty is just not to you, unfortunately. That loyalty is the thing that changed their life, which was the fitness program, which has been free since the beginning of time, right? And so if you don't have a compelling reason why your affiliate needs to exist and your people can't understand it, defend it, protect it, and preach it, then their loyalty, if you're lucky, is going to be to CrossFit's why and their mission and their vision, which is still a great thing to belong to, no doubt about it. But unfortunately, that's pretty commoditized, right? Like you're not going to get a soul experience outside of Fort Lauderdale or Miami, right? Like it's just not going to happen. And so if that's your thing and you want to belong to it, like and the beauty of that is that you get that soul experience, but you also get to be a part of that huge CrossFit ecosystem, which I think is very valuable to so many people. But if people could just be more confident, the insecurity wouldn't beget more insecurity. And that's why you see the gyms. Like, we need more affiliates, sure, like hundreds of thousands of them probably. But like the only way that's going to happen is when it becomes cool. And the only way it becomes cool is when people become individual and they become authentic, because there's no mass adoption of a big box, 10,000 square foot, matte black, corporate CrossFit thing. Like it's never going to work. Private equity is going to smash it to pieces. What does work is 100,000 strong, souls and identifiably unique things that are just like, no, I got my 50 people who are my tribe.
Yeah.
And they'll be with me, like you're my favorite saying that this whole thing is, run with us or run from us. And I think it's just one of the coolest ones ever. But that's like, if there's a tagline that truly sums up the power of individuality, it's that one. Right? You're like, you can either run with us or you're going to run from, because we will eat you alive in every conceivable way, fitness wise, culture wise, personality wise. And for sure, like there's some unique individuals as a part of Soul that I've ran into, and like there's some rad dudes and girls, particularly girls. But I think it's cool. I mean, that's the part that you guys get it. And if I can tell, that was the reason I wanted you on the podcast. Like if I can shine a light on beacons like this, the hope is that we give somebody the confidence to like turn their own light on, right? It'd be like, yeah, I can do it, right? And like I think it's powerful for someone to tell their story like you do, so so raw and unapologetically, because there's a lot of people in here who are trying to hide their past and their traumas. They're like, and I bought my seat at the cool kids table, now I own this affiliate, like, hey, right? And like there's that part sucks, right? Like just be like, I bought my seat at this table, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it the best I can. Like, and if we can get them back to that, that's really what it's all about.
Well, I think one of the things when I had, my affiliate was every day I would wake up and go, how do I not fuck this up today? I don't know what I'm doing, but how do I not fuck this up today and get up and do it all again tomorrow and make it mine? Like, build a gym that I want to hang out at and that, I enjoyed being at. And when people said, oh, don't put banners on the walls, I'm like, why? I like them. They're going on the walls. Like that's what I want to do. But it's like, this is my blank canvas. But every day is like, there's no exact science to this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just don't want to fuck it up today.
Yeah, totally. And that's the glory, the glory. That's the beauty of an affiliation, not a franchise,
Right.
And I feel like that gets lost a lot. I don't think just today, from the very beginning, I feel like that was lost a lot. I couldn't tell you how many rooms, seminars, Zoom meet, I mean, you name it, that I've been in with people who just have their hand out looking for answers that are already there.
Yeah. I mean, the answers are there. That's, I think, the thing that's interesting. There's a lot of people who are going to sell you information and advice and answers. And I'm like, you can Google literally anything. Like maybe the question is not what's the answer. The question is why you need that answer. Right? And there's just nobody really doing that. And that's why we set out to be the only coaches in the space. It's just like, I don't care what you want to do. Like you can tell me, I want to turn my affiliate into an ice cream stand. I'm going to challenge you on why you think that's a good idea. But if you can tell me why you think it's a good idea, let's fucking roll.
Yeah.
Like, what's our first flavor? And that's been the beauty of it really since the beginning. And it's an unscalable model. It's, some would probably even call it an unservable model, but fuck it. Right? That was really all we ever set out to do. And we do it relatively well. But the reason we do it is to turn more people into souls.
Yep.
Right? Like get them back to that vision and that mission. But I mean, it's been good for you, right? Obviously, you've worked your way through it. You've got some good things going on. You got 2 locations now. High five on that one. I haven't seen even the new location of the old location yet, so I'm a shitty friend. So there's that. But the problem is that you're in Miami and everybody's in Miami now, so I can't come down there. So one of these days, I'll sneak in and sneak back out one of these days. But I'm not coming for Waterpalooza.
We're officially underwater after this week, so
perfect deal. You have the competitor program, you got all that stuff online. So if people wanted to see more soul things, what's the best way to do it? Website, Instagram?
Yeah, we keep our website very up to date. We are pretty blog heavy, so we still blog often. We put a lot of educational stuff on there. We also talk about every time we have a new training cycle from one of our many programs. We sell program designs all the way from powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, competitive CrossFit. We have a strength and conditioning program for grapplers and jiu-jitsu players. We have a program called Soul at Home for general population folks that we started during the pandemic, so you can follow along at home. We sell our affiliate program on there. We do personal program design and everything in between. You can find all of that stuff on our Sugarwater Marketplace. We have a very robust and active YouTube library that we post movement demos for any movement you could imagine. Like website, socials, and YouTube is the best place to interact with us or find us for sure.
I'll get Lisa to tag and post all those in the show notes.
Cool.
Yep. We'll go down.
I mean, I would tell anybody that's listening to this, if you need to understand the power and the compulsion behind a why and something to belong to and what it looks like to curate a culture, things that we talk about a lot. Like the reason why Danny's on this podcast is as a literal example of all the things that we talk about. So just go follow it, go pay attention to it. If nothing else, reach out to them because I know Danny will talk your ear off if you just reach out because he's the coolest dude. So I got to jump. Pumped that we were able to get on this. I think I want to do this again. I say this with every guest, but like definitely going to do it again. So I'll get you back on here. I'll get Sean on here one of these days too. But
bring Sean and I together. We would have so much fun.
Maybe I'll just come down there. We'll do it live.
Ooh, we'll do it live.
Oh, look out.
No pants. All right, dude. Happy to see you. Glad you're doing great. Your hair looks perfect.
I'm trying. I put a lot of my new conditioner in it yesterday. So.
You do look great though, dude. Keep it up, man.
Thanks, man. I'm trying. Love you, man. Good to see you. Bye, Lisa.
Thank you.